Well, we can moan about shippers and the prices and everything else, and we're entitled to. But we also need to make sure that we've got our own house in order as drivers. Hi everybody, it's Saturday the 24th of September, and I've had a short week because I got back from holiday quite late and didn't really begin to work properly until Wednesday afternoon. But I have had two really good days. Thursday and Friday were excellent days, really good days. A good long job to Brighton on Wednesday afternoon. It started by collecting the goods and then delivering them early morning in Brighton, Hove actually, which is next to Brighton, Brighton early, and got to Brighton to the coast because the place was right near the coast, and watch the sunrise. Have a look at this. Sometimes it's just nice to see it. Now, the more observant of you will notice that the vehicle is parked in a disabled bay. However, I will point out that disabled parking doesn't begin till 8 AM, and that was well before then. Anyway, got that job and got myself a job part way back, which meant it was a fantastic day of earnings. And Friday followed along the same vein as in I bid for a job Thursday evening on the way back and got an ADR job to, let me just look, to Luton, sorry about that. Went to Luton and picked myself up an ADR job in Milton Keynes, heading not all the way home, but part of the way home. And again, the earnings on that day were fantastic as well. So I had two really big days, and the total of those earnings for the 2 days were practically what my minimum was for a week. So it meant that even though it was a short week, it was a successful week, and I didn't have to worry too much about picking up them lost earnings further along the line. So that was good. But the reason why I wanted to put a video here was because obviously while I was off, I was still catching up with what the lads were posting from the other YouTube channels. And one of the channels, which I'm sure you all follow anyway, is Freddie Fletcher Limited. And James, who runs that, he's a driver, but he's also a shipper. And it highlighted to me some of the problems that he has with drivers themselves. Drivers who don't put the tracker on. Drivers who co-load without permission when he needs to get something where it's going urgently. And it got me thinking that I don't look really from a shipper's perspective. I look from a driver's perspective because I'm not a shipper. So then when I'll moan and whinge about shippers, oh, they're making too much money, they're doing this and they're doing that. And I want more money for the job I'm doing, which I do. We all do. We'd all like to get more money. But we're not going to be in a position to justify getting more money if we're all operating like cowboys, which I'm sure the majority of us aren't. But for those of you who are thinking of coming on, for those of you who are already on, and for those of you who are existing drivers on here with far more experience on the Courier Exchange than me, I think we all need to have a good look at ourselves. Now, I believe that I operate properly. I believe that I do everything that I'm asked to do. I'm never late. And if I was late, there would be a genuine reason for it. It would be unexpected traffic, maybe illness, accident. I always set off a little bit earlier than I should do to go and collect a job. One of the reasons is because if I get there early, I might be able to get away early. But I want to give a good impression. So I always get there on time. I don't co-load unless I had permission. In fact, I've only ever co-loaded once, and that was with permission. To be honest with you, I just find it I'm either co-loading anyway. You concentrate on too many things at once, and my tiny brain can't cope with that. But I don't co-load. I go and I pick up the goods and I go and deliver them. I always keep my tracker on. The tracker's on there for a reason, so that the customer, your customer, i.e. the shipper, can see where you are. So if they get an inquiry to how long it's going to be, they can tell their customer whereabouts you are and how long they expect you to be. So it's there for a reason. So I always keep it on all the time. My van is always tidy. Now, it doesn't matter whether you've got an older van or a newer van. You should keep it tidy. You are presenting yourselves in a good way if you keep your van clean. I am always, I'm not the best looking person in the world, but I always try and present myself professionally. I wear appropriate clothing. Now, I don't turn up in a tuxedo, obviously, but, I'll generally wear a polo shirt and cargo pants, safety shoes, the correct PPE, obviously me high-vis. I'm polite when I get there. I'm not aggressive. Even if things are going against you, even if things are not going to plan, I stand there, I smile. And sometimes it works wonders, because we all know you get to places and you'll get an awkward warehouse person. And that happened to me the other day. I collected a job that was down as a medium wheelbase job. As it happens, when I got there, it should have been a long wheelbase job. I'll show you a picture and you can see if you think that these goods would have fitted in a medium wheelbase van. See, it's quite a squeeze in my long wheelbase van. But the upshot meant that these particular products, they could only be put in that way. You couldn't get them off with a pallet truck because they had to go in lengthways, and they could only be lifted off sideways, but they were too wide anyway. So it was misinformation, really, either from the customer to the shipper and the shipper to me. The upshot was they had to be loaded in a certain way. I agreed to take them, and a higher rate was agreed. The shipper acknowledged that it should have been a bigger van. That's not a problem. But the worry was that when I got where I was going, would I be able to get them off? Because it needed 2 men to take them off. So what the shipper said was, well, if you have a problem when you get there, if necessary, I'll go on the CX and have someone else come to you to help you take them off. But I got to the destination, got to the place. I was nice, I was polite. I explained to them, look, there's an issue with the goods on the van that we can't fault them off. They're going to have to be lifted off because of the way they are. And the guy came out, he tutted and he huffed and obviously shook his head, and the general thing that people do, oh, I don't know about that. But the upshot, what he said was, you know what? I'll give you a list. Ordinarily, he said, I'd have turned this down, I'd have turned this away. But you're a nice guy, and it's not your fault. So I'll go and see if I can grab someone else, and we'll get them off. He come back, he couldn't get anybody else, and he wasn't the youngest of blokes. He's like me. But between us, we got them off, and that's because I was polite. I didn't make a fuss. I was expected there to be a problem, so I anticipated the problem by being nice and polite when I got there. And the upshot was, the goods were taken off. I didn't have to mess around, and I could make my way home. So that is something that you need to do, because if you're confrontational, then they might be confrontational, and then you're going to get nothing done between the pair of you. And you might end up stuck with goods on your van and taking them back. Yeah, you might get more money for it, but at the end of the day, the idea is to provide a service, and our service is to collect goods and deliver them. So that's what was done, all because you've got to think a little bit, but I just believe a smile goes a long way, and it does help. So now, James was Freddie Fletcher. He's had these problems. People lying to him about where they are. They turn off the trackers. Now, the trackers are on there for a reason, like I said. The majority of the work that we do is same-day delivery on here. A company pays a lot of money to have items taken the same day. Now, we might not think it's a lot of money because we get a certain amount which has had a bite taken out of it by the shipper. That's separate. But at the end of the day, the person who's paying for those goods to be shipped is paying a lot of money in the anticipation that they're going to get there the same day because they're urgently needed. If there was no rush in those items to get there, they'd use something like the pallet network, wouldn't they, where they might pay, instead of paying 150 quid to have something sent direct there on a van, they'd pay about 50 quid to put it on the pallet network and it'll get there 2 or 3 days later. They're paying, in their eyes, big money to have something delivered the same day. So if you're a bit of a shark and then do a bit of crafty co-loading and don't get it there at the time it's anticipated, it makes the shipper look bad. It makes the shipper then think, this guy's a bit of a shark. I don't know why I bother paying all this money to drivers because they're just going to do this to me. So it puts us all in a bad light because of some people's unprofessional and maybe greedy way. If it's a hot shot and it's the same day and it doesn't say you can co-load, then you shouldn't assume you can co-load. I know it's easy to co-load sometimes and turn off that tracker and grab a couple, but my fear is if I co-load and I grab something thinking, well, that's easy, that's on the way, it's only down the road from the other one. You don't know what problems you might encounter at the first drop. They might not be in, they might not be there, you might be waiting for ages, you might pull into a big yard who says, no, I'm sorry, you're not booked in yet, you're going to have to wait over there for a while. All the time increasing the time taken to deliver that and ultimately the other one that you were meant to be doing in the first place. So you shouldn't co-load. You shouldn't co-load without permission. I know that people say, yeah, co-load. You should do it with permission only because you're just making yourself look like a shark. And then ultimately it gives us all a bad name. You know, wear your right kit. Be polite. Do the job properly. Be professional, in other words. I know this is not a glamorous job. It's not a profession as such. You've not gone for years and years of university training to do it. But it's your business. You're running a business and you want to put it in the right light. If you're good and professional and do a decent job, you'll get decent feedback. And ultimately, the feedback is a guide to how good the shippers think you are. That's the only thing you've got. So if you want the good feedback, do a good job. I know that some people don't want the good feedback, not bothered. And I would imagine, I don't know for sure, obviously, that if you're a shipper and you're looking to put a job out and then you've got, 5 quotes for that job and one of them is really low feedback, even though they're the lowest price, you would think they'd probably skip that person and move on to the next one. I don't know for sure. But in my opinion, we need to look at ourselves, do a decent job, keep your van clean, present yourself well, be well-mannered and polite. And everything else should take care of itself. Hopefully, these dodgy drivers who are giving us a bad name by turning up, dressed like they're going on the beach, vans that look like they're held together with sellotape, probably got an extra 200 kilos of weight on them just from the crap that's on them. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for the profession at all. And the sooner they go, the better, I think. Get rid of them, present a better service. And if you present a better service, you can justify getting a better rate, hopefully. Anyway, that's it. That's done. VAT's through. First 2 invoices have gone with the VAT now. What a difference it does make. And now the accountant can set about getting some of this bloody money back for the van and things like that, and the CX payments for me as well. But I'm going to let them handle all that because they're the experts and that's what I'm paying for, isn't it? I hope everybody is well. A friend of mine did start on the CX this week. Not this week, a few months ago, and he's packing it in this weekend. He didn't think he could make it pay. His outgoings were horrendous and he was renting a van. But it's sad and it shows you not everybody gets it, do they? Take care.